They threw her away like she was some burden. My grandma, the woman who gave everything to this family, was left alone in a cold nursing home, forgotten. But I brought her home, and when her greedy children came crawling for their piece of a house, I gave them something they never expected. Nothing. If you've ever seen someone mistreat the very person who once carried them through life, you know how deep that betrayal cuts. So buckle up, subscribe, hit that like button, and get ready, because this is a story about love, loyalty, and the kind of revenge that doesn't need yelling, just paperwork. When I was a kid, Saturdays didn't start until I smelled cinnamon and apples. That meant Grandma Lydia was baking. She lived in a little house at the end of our cul-de-sac. White shutters, blue door, peonies in the front yard. She'd wave from the window, always smiling when I came sprinting in for her famous apple pie. But more than the pie, it was her stories. She told me about her days as a switchboard operator, about falling in love with Grandpa who passed far too soon, about raising 3 kids alone, my mom, my Uncle Peter, and Aunt Claire. She worked 2 jobs, sewed their clothes, took nothing for herself. She was love. She was laughter. She was my whole world. But time catches up with even the brightest stars. Her hands began to tremble. She used a cane. Sometimes she forgot things, not big things, just little ones. Still, she was there. She was Grandma, sharp-witted, funny, telling me about the neighbors and gossiping over tea. But to her kids, that sparkle they once leaned on became an inconvenience. They stopped visiting, rarely called. My mom, her own daughter, began referring to her as a handful. I didn't understand. How could they talk like that about her? I came home from college for winter break. I ran to Grandma's like always, but the curtains were closed. The house was dark, silent. I called Mom, heart pounding. "Oh, she's in a nursing home now," she said, like she was telling me we ran out of milk. I asked why no one told me. "She can't take care of herself anymore. It's for the best." It felt like a punch in the gut. The next morning, I drove to that place. It smelled like bleach and loneliness. Down the long hallway, I found her in a plain chair, by a tiny window, her cold flat, her spirit smaller than I'd ever seen. "Sweetheart," she said, voice trembling. She blinked, and tears welled up. She knew me. I ran to her, hugged her. She felt frail, like she was shrinking from the inside out. I asked, "Why didn't anyone tell me?" She smiled, faintly. They said I was too much trouble, but I told them I'd be fine. She wasn't fine. None of it was fine. This woman who once moved mountains was reduced to a room number. That night, I couldn't close my eyes. All I could think about was her standing in line for hours just to get discount groceries for her kids, walking miles when the car broke down, smiling through every hardship. And now, they toss her like an old shoe. The anger didn't just sit in my chest, it screamed. Something broke in me, and something else hardened. The next morning, I walked into the nursing home with shaking hands and a fire in my chest. "Grandma," I said, kneeling beside her, "do you want to come live with me?" She blinked, then her lips trembled into the softest smile. "Oh, darling, more than anything." I signed everything, packed her things, moved her into my little apartment. At first, it was hard. She needed help bathing, meds. She'd sometimes wake up confused, but slowly she came back. She told stories again. We baked pies again. Okay, I mostly burned them. But she laughed. Oh, she laughed. And that spark, the one they said had gone out, it returned. She sat by the window humming again. Knit scarf for neighbors. Told me about the time she snuck into a jazz bar in 1956. She was alive. And then the vultures came circling. Aunt Claire called first. "Why did you take her out of the nursing home?" "Because she's not a burden," I said coldly. "She's family." "Well, that's not your decision. She raised you. Now you decided she's inconvenient? You don't get a say." Then came Mom. We did everything for her. You don't understand how hard it was. "No," I said, "you don't understand how hard she worked for you. And you threw her away." They hung up, furious, but I wasn't done. A month later, I got a call from Uncle Peter. "What's this I hear about a for sale sign on Mom's house?" I smiled. "Oh, that? Grandma signed it over to me. I'm selling it." "You can't do that." "Actually, I can. She's of sound mind. She wants to use the money for her care." He exploded. That house was going to be our inheritance. I said, sweetly, "Then maybe you shouldn't have left her to rot." They threatened lawsuits. They tried guilt. They even tried bribing Grandma. But she looked them in the eye and said, "You made your choice. Now I'm making mine." We sold the house. With the money, I bought a little lakeside cottage. Not big, but perfect. Every morning, Grandma sat on the porch with coffee, watching ducks glide across the water. She smiled more. She slept peacefully. One day, she turned to me and said, "I thought my children forgot me. But you reminded me that love still runs in this family, just in the branch I least expected." 2 years later, Grandma passed, peacefully, in her bed, sunlight streaming through the windows. At her funeral, they all showed up, Aunt Claire, Uncle Peter, even my mom, dressed in black, eyes scanning for drama. They whispered, probably expecting a reading of the will. Instead, the lawyer handed them each a letter. It read, "You abandoned me when I needed you most. My granddaughter gave me a home, and love, she is my true family. Everything I have, every penny, every heirloom, belongs to her." They turned red, angry, embarrassed, but they couldn't argue. It was legal, signed, witness, final. Not all inheritances come in the form of money. Some come in moments, in memories, in the warmth of knowing you did the right thing when no one else would. Grandma gave me everything, her love, her stories, her time, and I gave her back her dignity. That was worth more than any house they thought they deserved. If this story made you feel something, if it reminded you of the power of loyalty, of real family, then hit that like button. Tell me in the comments, what would you have done? And don't forget to subscribe for more stories just like this. Stories where love wins and karma comes full circle.